I think what you bring up is interesting because work relationships are very much picked for you. I mean, unless you're the hiring person, you're only hiring, cool friends, right? It's very much a relationship of convenience, right? And so if you go somewhere that was laid out for you, and these are the people you're forced to work with, so you do become friends with them eventually, hopefully, if you're somewhat socially integrated in the world. But it could be, but it's probably not going to be as powerful as you knowing and picking the person that you want in the real world, right? Picking someone. Of course, you're going to get mentors and great colleagues at work and friends. But if you go out being like, I really want that 100% social freedom and same sense of humor and just someone who loves and cares about me, because you never know. At work, there's going to be some, I don't want to say manipulation, but there's some underlying intentions, right? Maybe that person will help you get a promotion, right? Or whatever it might be. And so if you want to be able to pick someone who makes your life better, I don't want to say unconditionally, but because you have a two-way street with each other that goes beyond a profession, it opens up the realm of support in other ways. It becomes more of a neighborly feeling rather than a underlying we work together, but some friends at work can be really great, especially if you leave the company and go separate ways. I'm sure relationships change, right? Oh, now that we don't work together anymore,
right?
And then there's some ugly times where you thought someone was your friend at work and you leave work and you found out that that you're not friends anymore because you lost that commonality. I've heard a lot of stories like that too. And so,
I think those work relationships are just easier to maintain because of convenience, right? Like, we're all together, so let's go to the happy hour together. The happy hour bleeds into the evening, and it becomes more, it's just something that you do because of convenience. And that's why I think right now in the coming months, it's going to be more important than ever to like build on your own social circle, something around you rather than around where you work, or rather than around the activity that you do, or whatever it is, how you usually create friends and, or meet friends, right? Is it a club that you're in? Is it some sort of sport you play? Is it a place that you go? Right. A lot of these things we can't be doing in the past 3 months, and we probably might not be able to do for the next couple months. And so I think it's very important that you meet those people there and you qualify them at those places, but you build the social circle around yourself. And like you have that awesome blog that I always send it to like students who are curious about how to like build a social circle. The blog about how to build a social circle. When you were in New York City for 3 months and build your own posse. How to build a posse. That's what it was, right? Yeah. How to start a posse or build a posse or whatever. And like that's one great strategy is like having that place that you can, or I'm sorry, having that like context that you built that social circle around you, and it's not around anything else. So you can go wherever and you can do whatever, and those people are still going to be there. And
totally.
And you also, because you're not, a lot of the time when you meet people, when you join a social circle, like at a organization, right? Like you work somewhere and you become friends with everybody, you join them, right? And you guys go out to the happy hour afterwards. They all just want to stick together. They just want to stick together, and it's harder to bring people into your circle. Unless you split up the group a little bit. If the group splits up, then it's like, maybe 2 or 3 people hanging out. You can bring in your outside friends and it's a lot easier. But if it's like a group of 10 people hanging out, there's a lot of the time there is like that incongruence, that like that going against the grain of like bringing people from outside their culture, and then the conversations, if they're not really socially, if they're not jaunty, if they're not like socially intelligent people, they don't take the conversation outside of the context of their work, which a lot of people don't, right? And so it's just harder for that, for anybody on the outside to like get an insight of what you guys are like, or even to integrate into that circle, because you don't have that commonality that we talked about.
Yeah, it should be fluid, right? There should be many angles, and I mean, anyone, you can argue that friendships, I mean, the number one thing obviously is the feeling, right? Is the trust and communication, and the nurturing and caring side, and of the friendship is the reliability, right? And the competence of them being there as a friend. That's like really the, one base of it. And then, to its core, it's not unfortunately, but you can argue somewhat, there's always some type of back and forth, two-way street, almost like a transactional type of feeling. You can always argue that, but that's not the way we like to look at it, right? It's a value back and forth. But then if you take it out, I think a couple good definitions of a good friend beyond just that feeling and trust and love, is something that I've said, we've all heard before, I think, is that a lot of people say this is, a good friend will be there to really genuinely celebrate and help you and rise you up during the good times as well as the bad times, right? And then I just thought of this right now, but like a really cool way of describing a friendship is, if you think about, if you talk about transactional, right? So a really good friend, the better a friend is, the more difficult it is to explain what those transactions are, right? So like if you have a friend and you're only friends because you help each other out with work stuff, right? That's easy to explain. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, we're friends. He really helps me with my SEO and I really help him with his social skills, right? But the better the friend is, the harder it is to define those transactions.
Right.
It gets very subjective, and it's harder to explain. What's that?
There's no scorekeeping. There's no
exactly. There's no like, this is why I like them. It's more like, this is what I feel. Right. And that's hard, and it's a hard thing to kind of
like
put
you
down
say,
to paper.
When somebody asks you about them, you'd be like, this guy's a really good guy, right? You don't say anything about like, oh yeah, he like he's good at what he does for me, right?
Right.
Or
You're like,
this for me, or that
I just really feel a bond with them, whatever that means. It's like, it's hard to explain. I really bond with them, or I really trust them, or I love spending time with them is a big one. I love spending time with them. That's really the heart of it. When I think of them, I light up, right? Those are things that you can't really write down of as why. And so you can really tell when someone's a good friend if that's challenging. So putting your finger on why, that means it's a little bit deeper. If you can write it down, then it's not that. If you can write it down easily and it sounds a little reasoning based, then it might be a little surface level. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, I like this guy because he's funny.
Right. He makes me laugh. I mean, yeah, he makes me laugh. But if that's a big overarching part of they make me feel good overall, then that's good. But if you only like them because they entertain you, that's not a good friend, right? Also, how much you want to give back to them, right? I don't know. It's like that feeling of gratitude, right? Like I'm really grateful to have Craig as a friend. Like, I'm really grateful. And it's hard, that's all I can say about that. It's not like I'm grateful. I can be like, wow, he's just very loyal and very, caring and very nurturing, and he's always there for me, and he makes me laugh, but but that's not like the one reason. There's a lot under that, you know? Yeah. And I think trust is a really big one, especially with me and you. Totally. And I love that, you know? I love you, man.
Love you too.